I am Justin Boyd.
Tristan Jones.
And I'm relieved.
And we are the Watchers in the Basement. Welcome to the Watchers in the Basement, and welcome to Watchers Football Weekly, a podcast within a podcast. And a podcast is all about the pigskin. We are here today to discuss week 14 of the NFL season. Also, the college football playoff. We'll get to that a little bit also. But let's start off with the NFL. And both of you guys are big Chief fans. We all know that. This Chiefs season has been insane. And another one-score game, another one-score win for the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. This time they won with a bank shot walk-off field goal with their third-string kicker, the third kicker they've had this season. Every week we're talking about all these teams that are trying to be in the playoffs, right? It seems like the Chiefs have been in the playoffs since September 1st or whenever the NFL season started, early September. Tristan, what are your thoughts on this? Once again, pulling out another win, another back-to-back weeks of 19-17 scores to win. Thoughts on the Chiefs game against the Chargers?
I have scattered thoughts. I mean, on one hand, I am to the point of kind of accepting that this is just how this, the offense is going to look. I think they're going to struggle to some degree with tackle play for the remainder of the year. It might stabilize a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be like stellar. I think they also, at some point within the latter part of this regular season and in the playoffs, they do have the ability to flip the switch, and I keep waiting for that to happen. To the point where it's like, okay, at some point we have to realize that they are intentionally seeking to be like a ball control, stop the run. Just be consistent with the run and make plays when we need to type of team. I guess my issue, well, first of all, I'm happy that they're 12-1. Like there are certainly worse outcomes. You know what I'm saying? Like I go into every week confident in Andy Reid in the big moments, Pet in the big moments. I just wish that they didn't have to rely on those big moments. And I appreciate like how successful they've been this season, despite the injuries, despite the poor play in key areas like left tackle, right tackle at times, CB2 with Jalen Watson out. I also watch them and like I don't feel like they have to struggle that much. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like that the offense can be better and be a ball control team at the same time. Like I don't understand why, you know what I'm saying? Like it has to, like for instance, it was 6-0 in that second quarter, and then like they flipped the switch, saw that they were, tackles were getting beat up, and Pat was getting beat up as a result. They went no huddle, boom, 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 touchdown, right? And we've seen that throughout various times of this year. The best drive I've seen all year from them was in, Buffalo game when they were first down 9, early fourth quarter, late third, I can't remember. But it's just like, bam, okay, here's what we do. Boom, 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 touchdown. Like they can do it. I feel like they've made a conscious decision that they're not going to do it, or they're going to save that for late in the year or playoffs, right? Obviously, they're this close to having like the 1 seed locked up. Need some things to happen, but they can lock that up. But like, I would like for them to start, implementing like how they want to like improve the offense, get more go-to drives. Like I'm cool with the long drives, but like obviously we want them to end the touchdown. Some of that is like just poor execution at the wrong time, penalties, drops, yada yada at the wrong time. But like I feel like this offense is on the verge of breaking out every week. So I'm like, hey, I see you moving the ball. I see, Xavier Worthy getting more routes. I see, hey, we got Pacheco back, mixed with Hunt. So like that's where I'm at. I'm just like, okay, I feel like when I watch them, I'm like, they're on the verge of like really breaking out offensively. It's just stupid shit, either player execution or coaching wise, play call wise, that's keeping it from it. And it's frustrating while also the 12-1 back-to-back Super Bowl champs. Like I'm trying to figure out like where should I be on the spectrum of Chiefs fandom? You know what I'm saying? But I'm somewhere.
Yeah, gotcha. Frank, where are you on the spectrum of that? Because, like you said, it's they're 12-1, but every game, literally, like they've won 10 one-score games, which never happened before. There are other games they've won by 13 over the Saints. They beat the Niners by 10. That was a game y'all went to that actually was not that close. And then they lost by 9 to the Bills. But the other 10 games have been one score. You've had a 1-point game. You've had 2 2-point game or 3 2-point games. Like it's been a close like postseason season for the Chiefs.
Yeah, I agree with Tristan for most of what he said. I'm going to add on to this from this standpoint. I'm just now married to the fact that we're just going to play close to the vest for the rest of the way until the tackle situation is remedied, and it won't be this season. Like I know they tried some Mateo on the left tackle. They alternated Wanya Morris. Now Humphreys, and he's hurt, and I don't know if he's going to play. I'm married to the idea that this is how we're just going to win in 2024. This is who we are. Like, the Saints victory of 13 and the Niners victory of 10 to me are more outliers, more so than who we are. I think who we are is what you've been seeing most of this season. They're going to play close to the vest. They're going to have drives where they look like boom, 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 6 plays, 30 minutes, touchdown. But like, it's going to be plays, 16 play drives, 14 play drives, 5-6 minutes. They're going to have drives. I think that's more so who we are at this point. I know Hollywood will get back in a couple of weeks, and that's great. But I'm now married to the idea that if we're going to win this Super Bowl and we're going to three-peat, it's going to be a conservative approach. As frustrating as it looks at times, that's just who we are. I think what's more plausible to happen is them cleaning up the red zone issues. I think that's more plausible to happen, more so than like the altogether approach with scratching what we've been doing over the last year and a half and becoming an explosive offense. I just don't think that's not who we are. I've wished that. I was excited about the offseason moves of getting Hollywood in and drafting Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice and all these exciting pieces. That's just not who we are, man. At least not right now. In 2025, once we get that cleaned up, the tackle situation cleaned up, and we move money around and possibly get rid of our right tackle, and Sumatea grows up, we draft another tackle again in the draft. As of right now, we are going to be a ball control offense. Am I fully on board with it? Do I fully agree with it? Parts of me say no, because I feel like when we're in ball control, our tackles are more isolated, and it becomes health becomes more in play and in danger. I like it when they speed it up, but like Tristan said, that it looks like they're saving something for the playoffs. It looks like they're saving something to where they're not being scouted on film for if we play the Ravens, or when we play Buffalo, or if we make the Super Bowl and play whoever. It just looks like they're comfortable holding their cards close to the chest and not showing their poker hand. And as frustrating as it looked at times, man, it is frustrating. The 12-1. I'm like, yeah. If we had this conversation in June and a soothsayer said, "Hey, you won't have Rashee Rice. The left tackle situation will be in shambles. Pat's going to have one of his most pedestrian years ever throwing the football. You're going to have your CB2 is going to be out. Jalen Watson's going to be out, but you'll be 12-1. Chances are we're all going to take that, right? So, yeah. This is who we are, man. I'm married to the idea, and I'm married to the approach now at this point.
As the only non-Chiefs fan on the pod, I don't have anything against them. I'm just not a fan of the team per se. I got to say, I think this is like awesome. This is such a it's so interesting to have a team it's an unbeatable team that's beatable. Like that doesn't happen very often. I mean, the Patriots were kind of that way also. At least they were like in the Super Bowl. But like, you think back to the other teams that have tried to go for three-peats, and you're going back to the 49ers of the late 80s and early 90s, and the Cowboys of the mid 90s. Those were dominant teams that just like beat their opponents week in, week out, and just, won by, double digits. And then they got to a tough spot where they had a key injury in Montana's case and with the 49ers, or just they met an opponent in the Cowboys case, which was the 49ers years later, that they got in a close game. And it's like, we're usually punching people in the face. They punched us in the face and they didn't know what to do. This team is so conditioned to, like y'all said, it's like they play this ball control style offense. And it's just this like every possession matters, and it's like they've literally just played the playoffs the entire season. So my only thing, I wish they were still undefeated, because, that would be such a great story if they were still undefeated. And you've got these high profile game coming up. You've got the Saturday game against the Texans. You get the Netflix Christmas Day game. Like, just imagine how much more juice we'd have if they were undefeated for those big games. Again, I think it's fun. And it's also just kind of comical how they've won all these crazy, you hit the upright, bank it in, the other team falters and fumbles. They have a penalty fumble, and it's just like they find ways to win. And that's entertaining. I mean, I'm sure their games are doing very well on TV.
It's real quick. Like, we understand that football is just a random game, right? Like,
yeah,
so much variance,
exactly.
Teams can lead the league in fumble recoveries one year, be dead last the next year, nobody bats an eye. Like, it is impressive that they have kind of beat so much of the variance, you know what I'm saying? And not even just this year, but like over the course of 5-6 years, just beat the variance of, we've seen teams that have explosive offenses, and those offenses one year can, look like the greatest show on turf, and the next year they can't, they're stuck in the mud, and 18, 19, 20, 2021, 2022, this was a high octane, high scoring, I think 2022 is actually the best version of that, because like they just played possession by possession, drive after drive after drive, just got good plays, whatever, like, and they beat the majority of the variance in football, and that's super impressive. It's just hard to win 3 straight Super Bowls, man. Like, you've played. I'm a Warriors fan. Like, once they got to this year, it reminds me so much of 2019 that it scares me. But it's like, really, they're the only thing that can beat themselves. And like that, and just variance, like injuries at the wrong time, bad breaks here and there, shooting variance. Like, they beat it for so long that, plus the mileage from the extra playoff games, it's like it's a conversion of so many things that can happen to derail them, and they just kind of just keep powering through it. Like, it's super impressive.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like for the duration of this Chiefs run, health has been pretty much their strength, right? They haven't had any major health issues going into this season, and we was lucky for that, right? And like all of a sudden now, they've had multiple major injuries across the O-line, CB2, receivers. Like 3 receivers are down. Like, one receiver missed damn near 2 months. The running back went down for 2 months. Like, I've never seen this before for a team to adjust, to have so many variations adjust on the fly in one season. Like, just this past summer, we was thinking about this is going to be 2019, 2020 over again. It's going to be a high-flying offense. That was just 4 months ago. and then you lose your receiver 1 and receiver 2. Like, that's and then your RB 1. And then you sign an RB guy who was on the street. He wasn't even with a team. He wasn't on a practice squad. He was at home chilling. And he becomes your bell cow for damn near 7 weeks. Like, this is like a Sports Illustrated DVD championship run that we're looking at right now. And like I've never seen this before.
Yeah, the montage for their season is going to be insane to go back and like watch all the. I mean, you say highs and lows. It's really just been highs, and there's been like like little lows in some of the games. But 12-1 is 12-1. The Chiefs are the number 1 seed in the AFC with that record. They've got a 2-game lead on the number 2 seed, which is Buffalo. Buffalo dropped a wild shootout to the Rams, 44-42. Despite Josh Allen's game, he had 6 touchdowns, 3 passing, 3 rushing. But the Rams, thanks to Stafford, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, kind of put on a show. Tristan, what did you think about that game? As one of the higher scoring games of the season?
Yeah, I think it was the highest scoring.
Yeah.
that's the best game I've seen this year. It was just fun. You're really just watching like two quarterbacks, two offenses, but like Josh and Matt Stafford just A-plus play after A-plus play. You know, Matt Stafford was dropping dimes. Like he was slinging that thing. You know, they're like, this is 36 years old. You know what I'm saying? He looks, throwing the ball, he looks as good, in my opinion, as he ever has. Even in the Super Bowl season, like you see, as soon as he got the, Puka Nacua back, Cooper Kupp is back. Running game is good enough. Like that's an offense I don't think anybody in the NFC wants to make to the playoffs. On Bill's side, Josh Allen I put this in the group chat. Like this week showed me, or stamped for me, that he is definitively, in my opinion, the second best quarterback in football. And I say that because I think we have a big four. Obviously, we know who one is: Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. Those are our big four. Those are the aliens that we have. You can make a case for Stafford on a great day, but we have a definitive four. In a possible five, a big four alien quarterbacks. With Burrow, there are a bunch of things that if I'm going against him, scare me. But like he doesn't have the full spectrum of things that scare. He doesn't check every single box, right? With Lamar, same thing. Like the things that he's really great at scare me, But there's also like one or two things that show up consistently in big moments that when you're going against him, you're like, okay, this scares me. But if we can make him do this, we got a great chance. Yeah, I was completely confident in the AFC Championship game, and I should not be that confident with a two-time MVP. I should not, right? Like I had to pinch myself. Like, am I tripping? Like I have full confidence that he's not going to do enough to beat Pat on the other side. Burrow, same thing. Like I'm not as confident as I am with Lamar, but like I'm confident. Like I just think Pat can just do everything on the spectrum of things that you want, plus more. Josh Allen, I think, can do everything. Like I think he has the potential to check off every single box more than Lamar and Joe Burrow have. With Pat, he just checks every box. Like look, with Josh, it's like he definitively checks most boxes, and he has absolute potential. Well, at least I have confidence that in the big moments he can check every box. So it's just like degrees of confidence going against, or lack of confidence going against those, each one of these quarterbacks. But he showed on Sunday that, man, if I have a really talented team, we could be really good. If I don't have a really talented team, we could be really good. And it's simply because you have me, right? And that's what he did. Like he made every play, up until the very end. But he made every play that needed to be made. And he just looked like a guy going against high schoolers at some point against that defense. If he scrambled, you knew he was picking up 10 to 15 yards. If he threw it, you knew he could make every throw on the field. Just great quarterback play from both sides. Great offenses. Puka Nacua, pardon me if I'm missing his name, or Puka. He looked like a mixture of like Anquan Bolden and fucking, I don't know, Torrey Holt. Like he did whatever he wanted to, and he was super big time. Cooper Kupp was super big time. Like that was just a great game. It doesn't like knock the Bills down anymore. Like I think they may, you can identify some holes in that secondary. Definitely some holes there. But like, I don't know how much of it is like the secondary just played poorly or like the Rams are just on fire. So great game. For me, Josh Allen locked up the MVP. Matt Stafford shows why he's still in that, top 7 best quarterbacks alive. But game of the week for me.
Yeah. Frank, your thoughts on the game of the week and not maybe one of the games of the year?
When I was watching that game Sunday, and I was saying to myself, when was the last time Josh Allen got sacked? Like I was just wondering because I didn't remember. He got sacked 3 weeks ago against the Colts. Jeez. That was last time he actually got sacked, like brought down behind the line of scrimmage while he was attempting to throw the ball. He got sacked. Like that was the last time he got sacked. when you watch him play, it gets to a point where when he's brought down by one person, I am disappointed. I'm surprised. I don't, because you rarely ever see it. Like, and then four of the last 5 games, he's only been sacked 3 times. I'm looking at the box scores of the last 3 games. The Chiefs didn't sack him. The Rams didn't sack him. The Niners didn't sack him. Coach sacked him twice. That's insane. It's. I mean, I've thought he's been defending them too for the last 4 years now. The only reason I say that because he's the only person, in my opinion, when the Chiefs are playing against him, he's the one guy that I'm worried if by happenstance they have the ball last, I think he's going to succeed. Like I don't like, and it's not indictment on my defense. It's not indictment on Spagnuolo. It's not indictment on anybody. When he has the ball last, I think he's going to succeed, and he almost did with 13 seconds left. It is that there was too much time left against the Chiefs 3 years ago. When I watched that game, what Josh Allen did, none of that surprised me. What I got from that game was, if the Rams are healthy, if they're running the ball with Kyron Williams, if Coop and Puka are healthy, that team can make the Super Bowl if they're healthy. And they're 6-6, and they lost 5 of 7 at one point. Yeah, because the top 2 receivers weren't playing. Like Stafford was putting up numbers with Puka out and Cooper out. And like, think about that. And like, now they're healthy, and they're healthy at the right time. And like Tristan said, man, if you're in the NFC and you're going against them, like if you're Detroit and if you're Philadelphia, you should be worried. Now they can't stop anybody. They can't stop the soul, but if it's a shootout and it's indoors, I don't know, man. If it's in Detroit in January, I don't know. I know they beat them earlier this year, but I think Puka got hurt in that game. So that's a team that I'm concerned. That's a team you should be worried about. As far as Josh Allen, like the big 4, like Tristan said, if you told me out of the big 4 in this year, and you put quarterback A, B, C, and D, and you said, hey, this week quarterback B had 6 touchdowns, I'm going to guess Josh Allen first. That'd be my first guess, just off cuff, because that's the type of season he's having.
Yeah,
like Joe Brady has transformed that offense. When last year, when the OC got fired and Joe Brady came in there and he said, look, man, I know what this offense is. We need to be a run control, ball control, run first offense. And when they've done that, when they've transformed into that, they've looked virtually unstoppable. And he's not turning the ball anymore. Like he had 1 interception or 2 interceptions the whole season. Like he's playing mistake-free football. And it's like a Rembrandt. It's art at this point with this guy. But yeah, it was a great game, and I would love to say game 3 or 4 more times over. But Buffalo, man, another thing I learned in that game is that Buffalo corners, man. And I know it's Puka and Coop. I get it, but their corners, man, they could be had. And if you're an AFC offensive coordinator and you watch that game, you now know, okay, we can take the CB1 and CB2, and we can make this a pass happy game against that Bills defense. That's what I took from that game. But it was definitely a game of the week type of game for sure.
Let's stick with the NFC West. The Rams got that win. They're 7-6, but they're still on the outside looking into the playoffs. Seattle improved to 8-5 with a win over Arizona. They're looking like they might be the one to come out of that division. I think only one team is going to get a playoff spot out of the West. And then you have the 49ers who throttled the Bears. The Bears have now lost 7 straight. The Niners got healthy against that weak Chicago team. Tristan, what are your thoughts on the way the NFC West looks right now?
Like Silky Johnson's coat. It looks ugly, man. All of these teams, like I would say, I think the Rams are the best team in the NFC West.
Yeah,
they're the team that I feel like can go in to any NFC stadium, or possibly have a team coming into their stadium in the playoffs and get at least one playoff win. Everybody else I don't think though. I don't think San Francisco is ever going to get back to what its peak, or even close to what its peak has looked like over the last few years. I honestly think that version of that team is dead, and they're kind of slowly transitioning to like the next phase of what that looks like. What does a San Francisco team look like around Brock Purdy without as many weapons on the outside, because you can't keep everybody. Paid Ayuk, he's unfortunately not there. So Debo's probably not long for there. That's essentially next year, Ayuk and Kittle and Jawan Jennings, offense. What's the ceiling on that? Like we simply don't know, with Ayuk coming off a ACL. Arizona, I feel like we've seen the best of what Arizona is going to be this year. I think I've come to a definitive conclusion on Kyler Murray. It's kind of been like a running thing on this podcast over the last 8 weeks or so, but like he's right at a average quarterback or slightly above average quarterback. And I think his ceiling is a consistently good quarterback, but I don't know how many years it's going to take. And is Arizona patient enough with him to see him get to there when they know that they have to know that their ceiling on Kyler Murray isn't super high. Like athletically, it's super high, but like just putting all those intangibles together on a consistent basis, I think his ceiling is just like a good quarterback on a week-to-week basis, right? A more athletic Geno. And speaking of which, I think Seattle is the second best team in the division. I think clearly. Seattle knows what they want to do on a game-by-game basis. They're just not super talented in putting that together, which is why you don't see like consistent. You'll see Geno have like a great game, 300-some yards, no picks, 2 to 3 touchdowns, and then you'll see a 2-game span where he goes back to being average. And like that's kind of like a microcosm of the team as a whole. So yeah, I think LA is the class of the division. The record just doesn't reflect that, but like they're not too far off. So it's just, if they can take care of business against Seattle the last time playing them and not slip up anywhere else, I strongly feel like the Rams there's a universe where they're the third best team in the NFC. Mm-hmm. And that's above Green Bay. That's on a right day above Minnesota. It's just, the injuries put them far back behind the 8 ball, but if they can get into the playoffs, man, they can win a game. And that's a great season for the Rams, in my opinion.
And the Rams Seahawks played the final week of the season. That could be for the division. Definitely a playoff spot. Frank, how do you see the West shaking out with where it is right now with Seattle 8-5, LA 7-6, and then you've got Arizona and San Fran at 6-7?
I think the Rams are the best team in that division. I think until they lose. I mean, it's one of those things. It's one of those things where it's like the bunch of like okay teams with players who can play elite in moments, but there's so many weaknesses amongst all 4 of these teams. Like I agree, I think Kyler is just going to be above average to above average on good days. That's just who he is. I mean, I don't see him getting better. I don't know if we can ever get to a place where we can say, man, I rely on Kyler to win this game. I think it's going to be one of those things where some Sundays he wears a cap, other Sundays he's going to crater, and the team's going to crater along by the wayside.
Or hop in real quick, like if I know, hey, we need to win these next 3 games to make it to the playoffs, I can depend on Kyler.
The next 3?
Like, or 2. Like, I'm just saying, hypothetically, if you just these next 2 games, we got Kyler Murray, so we're good.
And I feel like if you have to cringe at that and you're paying a guy top tier money, it's you're not in a good spot. And then with Seattle, look, I told Tristan this from the onset. Geno is who he is. The variance of good to bad, he's going to be in that middle. He's been that middle for the last 3 years now with Seattle. That's just who he is. He'll give you 350 and 4 touchdowns one week. He'll give you 125, 3 picks, and a game-changing turnover in the last minute of the game. Like, that's just who he is. Like, I think with Seattle is just, are you lucky enough to get 3 brilliant games from Geno in the most critical spots in December? And from what we've seen, it's scattered. You don't know what you're getting for Geno. Yeah. And damn, I just had an epiphany. Kyler might be Geno.
I said he was
the same shit.
Geno.
God damn.
Just said.
Holy fucking shit.
He's a more athletic Geno, man.
Yeah, that's the Spider-Man meme. That's the Spider-Man meme. I mean, you want to know Kyler's future? That's Kyler in 6 years. That's just who he is. I don't know what more you expect from him. It's funny to say this, but I expect the 37-year-old quarterback to win that division in Matthew Stafford. Coaching, I take McVay over all those coaches in the division. Receiving core, I take the Rams. Game plan, I take the Rams. I just take the Rams over all of them. I think the Rams should win that division. I think the Niners' early faults, those division losses, it hurt them, and they're not healthy. And like Tristan said, the best of the Niners is gone now. That team is old, long in the tooth. They got questions they got to make with Purdy and Deebo Samuel. You don't know why Ayuk is out for the year. He could be out for most of next year. They got too many questions. They have a left tackle question now. Trent Williams has been out, and they just paid him, I think, a 2-year extension. They just got too many questions. So it has to be the Rams, right? Like, if I don't see how the Rams lose the division till they lose it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right now they're behind. So we'll see how it plays out. Let's go from a division I think we'll have one team in the playoffs to a team that division that have 3 teams. Let's talk about the NFC North. The North kicked off the week with the Lions beating the Packers with a late field goal for the 11th straight win on Thursday Night Football. The Lions also clinched a playoff spot. Really good Thursday game. Tristan, what are your thoughts on the Lions' 34-31 victory over the Pack?
Really good game. Really good game. I fell asleep on like the fourth quarter, man, but I watched.
It's a long week. It's a long week, you know.
Long week, man.
Not the game's fault. Yeah. All right.
Like Thursday, man. I couldn't make it, man. The last few weeks actually, Texans game. I'm skipping a game because they blew out the Jags, but throw that game out. Texans, Packers, Bears. Seeing some flaws, seeing some holes, secondary wise. These 3 teams all were able to get to Jared Goff in different ways. Some were able to sack him, some were just able to hit him, pressure him, run him out the pocket. And his, not to get all nerdy, but his EPA drops like a bunch of points when he gets outside the pocket. Like, he's just not as accurate. Not as confident in their arm. And I mean, the Lions don't have, they have a really good wide receiver group. They don't have like an elite one. They don't have, Amon-Ra, St. Brown, like he's really good on yak. He can take a 8-yard, throw and take that 20. Jameson Williams a little bit less so. Like they have a really good receiving core. Their offense is built on efficiency. So, like, I was, for the first time really this year, was able to see teams, like, consistently get Jared Goff out of there, stop their run game. And, they struggled to put up points. They struggled to put up points in the entire second half against the Bears, first half against the Texans, second half against the Packers. Like, they can be got, you know what I'm saying? And as you start looking as a Chiefs fan, you start looking forward a little bit. And kind of plotting out, what a potential Super Bowl could look like. You see, like there's ways to get to them, and the Packers got to them. And they would have won that game. I think they lost a large part of them lost that game in the first quarter with like just some bonehead drives, the Christian Watson fumble. like what a team is good and well coached as the Lions, you need every single possession to like be positive, either through field position or putting up points on the board consistently. And they had to make that up, and then we got to the end of the game, it was just like, who's gonna have the ball last? And Detroit had the ball last, and that simply was it.
Yeah, Frank, we talked about this a little bit the day after. Dan Campbell, he kind of got away with one. He likes to go for it on fourth down. He had the field goal. He was, they're well within a field goal range. There's like 45 seconds left in the game. Decides to run down the clock. Jared Goff gets stepped on. He's able to hand the ball off to the running back. That could have been disastrous, though. And if you remember last year in the playoffs against the 49ers in the NFC Championship game, if the Lions kick one of those, like, what was it, 3 times they went 4 down, if they had kicked one of those field goals, they're in the Super Bowl. And, like, I kind of see, like, this kind of playing out the same way. I think the going for it is great, but sometimes you don't need to take that kind of risk,
Yeah, it's one of those things, right, where, like, as fans, you love to see teams who have an identity and they're married to that identity. They stick to that identity, they stick to that ideology as a team, and you respect them for it, right? But on the flip side too, I think it does take a little bit of patience to understand where you at in certain parts of the game, what your offense needs, and not be married to analytics. I think Bill Belichick said it best. Like, he scoffs at analytics because analytics doesn't take account of who you played on that particular day. Was it raining that day? Was it snowing that day? Was it outside? Was I going against Patrick Mahomes, or was I going against Geno Smith? Like, analytics doesn't take account for all the different variances within the game, right? As far as like the climate and what's going on in the game. And he got lucky. He got lucky this time around, but there has to be some type of like pull me back moments to be like, you know what? It's January. We're going against the Rams. It's 4th and 3 on my own 30-yard line. I have a good kicker. Early second quarter. Let me just kick the field goal. Like, I don't want to. You don't want to be chasing points. And that game last year against the Niners, they chased points, and it caused them. Those Josh Reynolds drops on 4th down, it costed them. And I think there needs to be a middle ground of like being aggressive and not doing it all the time. Now the 12-1, I get it. Like, look, in his mind, look, I trust my team, I trust my players. I'm gonna keep trusting my players, and that's fine and dandy until it doesn't work. Until you lose a big game in January or in February. So, I respect his approach. I do. That's just who he is, and if it bites him again in the ass, he'll be the first to know. So,
yeah, no, he will be. Sticking in the division, let's talk about the Vikings. Their big win over the Falcons. It was Kirk Cousins' return to Minneapolis, and Sam Darnold's career day ruined that. He threw for 347 yards, 5 TD passes. The Vikings have some receivers, Tristan. We've talked about them all season long. Of course, Justin Jefferson, one of the best receivers in the league. But the emergence of Jordan Addison, he's probably a top 10 receiver. I mean, maybe. I mean, there's a lot of good receivers.
Last week.
Yeah, no, you've been on Jordan Addison all season, Frank. But Tristan, what are your thoughts on the Vikings? I mean, they're now 11-2. They look like they're for real.
Yeah, man. If the caveat to this season has always been, with Sam Darnold, are you going to get? And I know we simplify a lot of this by kind of boiling it down to the quarterbacks, but it really does come down to the quarterback. I mean, they have really good defense. They have a really good defense that can look elite, any given Sunday. Not every Sunday, but like any given Sunday, they can look really elite. Run game is good. Like you said, they have 2 of the best receivers in the league. I would argue 2 top 10 receivers currently. They have good tight end. They have one of the best offensive coaches in the league, head coaches in the league. The one question mark is like, what Sam Darnold, like, where can this team go with Sam Darnold? Not just, kind of steadying the ship, but like having to step outside of script and like actually make plays when you need to. And I still don't think we're at a point of like definitive confidence in Sam Darnold doing that. But like, man, games like this will make you think like, shit, you know, if they can keep him upright, you know, give him some time, he can make some things happen.
Yeah.
You know, he can make some throws. Like he was the number 2 pick for a reason. You know what I'm saying? Like this isn't a guy who was a late rounder who, you know, was on the couch for a couple of years. Like this is a guy who had high expectations. So he has, you know, he still has a pedigree. We just haven't seen it. But I can tell you, like, from watching him fail in New York and kind of latch on into different places, like, he's a better quarterback. Just from what he's seen, the decision-making has improved. I don't know if the raw skills, the physical talent, the arm talent has improved, but he can make throws when things are good for him. And I mean, if you look at the numbers, the majority of his passing yards came really from a few plays, but like those were big plays where he had to like evade a couple rushers, get out of the pocket, throw on a run. Like these are things that we haven't seen from him consistently really since college. So can they make a Super Bowl run? I think they can. There's just more things have to go right. You know what I'm saying? Matchups might play a role in it. Like how good is the pass rush on the other side? You know, is this a blitz heavy team on the other side? But like, man, they get the right matchup, they can make the Super Bowl. Absolutely. I don't think they can win it because regardless of 9 times out of 10, regardless of who they play in the AFC, it's going to be an alien quarterback. You're like,
yeah.
And you're going to need to do that. You're going to need to depend on that. And there's a big difference between hoping he can do that and then like going in with the mindset of we have this guy and we know we can count on at least 24 points when we really need it. I don't think we're there at that point yet, but they can.
Yeah. You know, Frank, question in my mind is, you know, the Vikings drafted J.J. McCarthy in the first round at quarterback. He got hurt. They brought in Sam Darnold. Are they bringing Darnold back, you think? Or is somebody else going to step in and sign him? What do you think?
I think it largely depends on what happens in the postseason, right? Because we don't have any background work of what Darnold looks like when the chips are all on the table. Like he's having a great season. I mean, look, 350 and 5 touchdowns. I mean, he's been good. I mean, he's had some pumpkin watch moments, but they're 11-2, and he's a big reason why. I'm just, you have to see what he does come January. And if he cashes in, and let's say they make an NFC Championship game run and they lose, but he balls out and he doesn't give you New York Jets Sam Darnold, then I think you got to extend him. I don't know what McCarthy is. He's a good-looking kid from Michigan, and he played a year ago in the championship game and he won, but his team mostly carried him. Like there's no research from what I saw in college that says he's better than Sam Darnold. Like it's not definitive, you know. Like, I don't. When I watched Caleb Williams, I've seen the alien-like potential with Caleb Williams. You know, I've seen the work that Caleb Williams has done over the last couple of years. I don't know what McCarthy is, and I don't think you can definitively say he is the guy next year because we've never seen him healthy at the NFL level within the regular season. And I think with Darnold, it just depends on what he does come January. And if he does well, you franchise tag him, and then you decide from there on if you want to move him, you want to extend him, you want to work out a longer term deal. But in the short term, if he does well, play him on a tag. I mean, once you tag him, he can't go nowhere. He's there. What's it gonna be like? Oh, I want a 5-year, $200 million contract. On what, bro? Like you ain't done shit. Like what have you done to command that? You know what I'm saying? Like if I'm the Vikings, the best financial sense would be to tag him and just kind of just see how it goes.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the Vikings quarterback situation. And of course, obviously, first of all, see how far they go in the playoffs. Speaking of that, sticking with that game just a little bit, the Falcons are going the opposite way. There's a lot of streaks in the NFL right now. You got the Vikings, they've won 6 straight. You got the Eagles have won 9 straight. Lions have won 11 straight. The Raiders have lost 9 straight. The Giants have lost 8 straight. The Bears have lost 7 straight. And the Falcons have lost 4 straight. And they've lost the lead in that division, the NFC South. Now Tampa Bay has reclaimed the lead. However, the Falcons do have the head-to-head tiebreaker if it comes down to that. Tristan, what do you see out of the NFC South? I mean, this is a one team in the playoff division, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
I think it has to be Tampa Bay. If Tampa Bay does not win this division with Kirk Cousins, I think Kirk Cousins. This is an NFC conversation, but like I'm going to tell it through the lens of how washed Kirk Cousins is, because the Panthers, my Carolina Panthers. So like, I like this Panthers team. Like this is a side note.
This motherfucker has been so annoying in our group chat the last 2 weeks on this Bryce Young shit. I mean, and I like Bryce Young, but god damn it, man.
He's played really well.
Yes,
He's played really well.
Fucking annoying. Like every fucking drive, Bryce Young's my quarterback. This is my quarterback. Like god damn, bro.
I'm rooting for man. He looked like he did not belong on the football field.
Yeah.
And as recently as week 2, you know what I'm saying? Like he absolutely did not belong. So like seeing him get benched, come back, and like look like he learned something. You know what I'm saying? Like immediately, like, oh, I picked up on, and seeing it applied on the field. It's like he's made several, not even several. He's made a multitude of number 1 pick, potential franchise quarterback throws. Yeah. He's led drives on the road, at home, late in games. He's, against the Chiefs, against whatever, like he should have thrown the game-winning touchdown against Philly, like on the road, 98-yard drive. And it wasn't just like, crossing route that just, busted coverage that goes for 30 yards. Like those plays were made on him making plays in the pocket, getting out of the pocket, escaping a rush, breaking tackles, and making big-time throws. You do that consistently over over the course of some weeks, even in your second year after disastrous first year. I'm sorry, but I'm back on. You might have some star potential. You know what I'm saying? Like if you can continue to do that, he's doing the things that you want to see from a number 1 pick. Pardon me, man. Trying to see a black kid come up, man. But no, he's looked great. So, but like that's side note. We could talk about my Panthers at a later date. And they're not my Panthers because I refuse to root for a team with a horrible owner. Anywho, but I am rooting for Bryce Young. Anyway, the Saints, we talked about it before we started recording. There's no reason to talk about the Saints again for the rest of this year. There's no reason to bring them up. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Khalil Saunders, man. Champ, 2-time champ. But Kirk Cousins is so washed, fam. He is so washed up. At the beginning, the first half of the season was, well, he can't really move. After the Achilles, right. He was never really a super mobile quarterback, but he was always as mobile as he needed to be, on certain plays. He can't move. We knew that. He can't throw anymore. And by that, I mean, like, if you look at these interceptions, they're not just like bad interceptions. They're actually the right read, but he's throwing the ball like Chad Pennington. Like those ducks are coming out so slow that the defense is like, bro, if you drop this, you shouldn't even be a DB. Like, like forget being a wide receiver. You should not be anywhere where hands are needed. Like just be a soccer player or some shit. Like Kirk Cousins is so washed, man. He is so washed. And like I think mentally he's as strong as he's ever been. But his body is just like, bro, I'm out of here. Like it's time to check out. If you can't run, if you can't move in the pocket and you can't like actually make tough throws with like velocity, it's time to bring in Michael Penix. Is absolutely time to bring in Michael Penix, man. And I don't even know what that's going to be. So I say all that to say Tampa Bay should win this division. They have the best quarterback. They have, I would say, the best coaching. They have everything in place, really, just to at least be a playoff team. They're not going to win a game in the playoffs, the Bucs should kind of run away with this division as we finish out the rest of the season.
Yeah. Frank, thoughts on the NFC South? You think Tampa Bay's to lose?
Yeah, I think it's Tampa's to lose. Raheem Morris and Steve Sarkisian must be loyal husbands, man. They are loyal husbands. They have to be, because you can't stick with quarterbacks the way you've been sticking with quarterbacks and refuse to not make the change.
This is a great transition because the next thing we're going to talk about is the SEC title game. But yeah, continue.
I look. They are loyal to the soil. And this is a classic example of being loyal to a fault on both accounts. But I know we're talking about the NFC South, but I have to talk about the Falcons right now, because if I'm like, we talked about the Jets last week and the Bears last week, and about like fandom and like how much money you should invest in this team and time.
Mm-hmm.
If you're the city of Atlanta, mind you, they lost a Super Bowl. they blew a Super Bowl 7 years ago. They are that is a fragile fan base, and Kirk has not played well for the better part of 7 weeks now. He has not played well. Like that Thursday night game against the Bucks 2 months ago seems like that was like a year ago.
3 years.
That was a long time ago. Like he has not looked like anything that we saw in that game or the game against the Eagles before that. And it boggles my mind to be a head coach and to ingest as much football as Raheem Morris does, and to get up every morning, brush your teeth, and say to yourself, yeah, he had 3 picks today. It's fine. Oh, new Sunday. Oh, he had a 64 QB rating. It's fine. Let's throw him back out there. Like, it boggles my mind how you're married to this man. You owe this man nothing. Like, if Kirk Cousins got today,
some money. Yeah, some money.
Yeah, $95 million.
No, I mean, Arthur Blank owes him a buttload of money. But I'm talking about if you're Raheem Morris, you ain't draft this motherfucker. Like, you're not friends with this guy. Like, you don't know this man from a can of paint until this year. Like, why are you tied to this guy? You spent a top 10 draft pick on a quarterback just 5-6 months ago. Play the dude. Like, the Falcons have a good team. They have like just on paper, as far as like, they have a good online. They have a generational running back at 22 years old. They have a young, nice receiver. They have a lot of nice pieces, and for some reason they're just so, I don't know if it's white privilege. I don't know what it is, but I just find it weird that this guy is still starting for your team. And like, they have to stop letting money dictate what you're doing with your team. That money's done. Like, it's a bad investment. You got to eat that. Like, that's why I split the Broncos and the Walmart family. Like, they said, you know what, man, look, this ain't working, fam. It's a bad investment. Let's just move on and try again. And I think more teams need to adopt that mindset of like, just because I made an investment doesn't mean I have to be married to that investment, especially if that investment's not going well. And Kirk is Clorox. He's Clorox washed. It's a wrap. It's a wrap like that. And for me, I want to sign a guy come off an Achilles injury at 39 years old. That at quarterback, that's just me. Like, that's just you're asking for problems. With all that being said, it has to be the Bucs. If this is had this been like 8 weeks earlier, I probably said the Panthers. if I got this version of Bryce going forward, the Panthers have been so crazy competitive. It's like mind-boggling to me. This team to me look like they quit 2 months ago, and like I don't know, it's Canales. You know, I don't know. They're just rallying around Canales. I know Bryce is playing well, but like, they're playing good football, and like they're not getting blown out. They look like they belong on the field, and it's like, to see a young team like the Panthers look like they belong on the field, and then watch a team like Atlanta and see that they don't belong half the time on the field with the quarterback. It's like, it's crazy to me. It's the variance of like where these teams are at. Like, if I'm rooting for a team, I'm rooting for the Panthers right now, because I think the Panthers have a better future than what Atlanta does if they keep playing Kirk Cousins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you mentioned the Panthers. Unfortunately, Jonathan Brooks, the running back out of Texas, who tore his ACL in Texas last year, tore his ACL on Sunday. He just got back and was playing. Very fortunate for that guy.
Playing really well too.
Yeah, same right knee too, man. The same knee he tore last November. It's a shame.
Yeah, and I mean Texas could have used him last year. They could have used him this year. So I think let's transition to college. There's plenty of NFL to talk about. We've got plenty of weeks to go, but college this past weekend was the conference title game weekend, and some of the games were fun to watch. Let's focus on the SEC title game. Georgia got the win, beat Texas 22-19 in overtime. There's so much to talk about with this one. Tristan, take it away. What'd you think about this game? Texas has 2 losses. Their only 2 losses were to Georgia this season. Take it away.
Texas and Georgia and Texas. 2 teams that have realized, or one realized and like kind of did something about it, kind of forced into it. But 2 teams I think that have realized, whether they want to or not, that the quarterbacks they've hitched their wagon to will only get them so far. Frank just waxed poetically about Kirk Cousins and the Quinn Ewers parallel. But this same stuff, Carson Beck, you can throw him in that triumvirate of average, talented average. I watched that game. It's just so frustrated, like on a possession basis, when you just don't have the confidence that the dude is going to make the play. And with Quinn, it was worse because he was inaccurate. It wasn't like that he couldn't go above and beyond what he normally did. It was like he couldn't even like really meet the moment of what he's supposed to be good at, what he's supposed to be great at, which is just like efficiency and accuracy. Like the passes he missed, I don't know if it was because he just wasn't comfortable in the pocket. His mechanics were off, footing was wrong.
He's never fucking comfortable. He's never comfortable.
I tried. Okay. He was super inaccurate. It was like some of the throws he was missing was like embarrassing, especially in that first quarter. Yeah. And you could just see like, man, this it sucks when like, again, you invested so much in a dude and you're watching his flaws just like play out in the biggest moments, but you can't go away from them just in general, you know what I'm saying? Like fully because of how it looks. I don't know. Like you don't want to lose him forever. I don't know, man. Personally, I'd have been, his ass would have never came back after the first fucking Georgia game. Like it's been proven and Saturday just laid that out bare. Like there's a clear ceiling with a Quinn Ewers back team. And that ceiling is not a national championship. It just simply isn't. Like, I can count on Quinn Ewers to beat a Michigan, right? Like, teams that could be good defensively, but they don't have, like, super...
A down-year Michigan. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, down-year Michigan at that. But, like, they don't have, like, those superhuman athletic guys who can really get to him, throw him off. Like, this is the type of stuff that he would see in the NFL, theoretically. Right. And he just doesn't have enough arm talent, confidence, really toughness, like really stand in the pocket and make those throws. And those drives just kept getting stopped, time after time after time, because he couldn't, or at least partly, it wasn't fully him, but like he could not make the throws, the big throws that they need to beat a team like Georgia. Like Georgia is meant to take away, you're not going to beat them with an average quarterback, especially when they're motivated, something to play for. Like those are anomalies, and Quinn Ewers is an anomaly type of big game quarterback against a team like that. So with Georgia, Carson Beck, got hurt, and they, their backup came in and clearly was better. Again, raised the ceiling a little bit. Like Arch Manning, and I forgot the Georgia's backup.
Gunnar Stockton.
What
a name!
Yeah. I remember the Stockton part. They're not better than the quarterbacks that they're behind as far as like experience, as far as just making upper level decisions on a play-by-play basis. But they raise the ceiling of those teams. And like in college, where like the margin, it really comes down to like who has the most talent a lot of times. Yeah. You got Arch Manning should be starting. Let's just kind of say that plainly. He should be starting. This team can only go so far with Quinn Ewers, and that game solidified it for me. I said this again in the first Georgia game. It was laid bare on Saturday. I don't think you can look that team in the eye and say, hey, we expect to win a national championship with Quinn Ewers as a quarterback. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. But Ewers, he wasn't very good, but I don't think he was the sole reason why they lost. Frank, let's talk about Steve Sarkisian and his play calling, because in that game, I assume he watched the first time Georgia came to Austin and beat them, especially the first half, where Georgia's defensive linebackers just ragdolled the quarterback. They were all over him. Every year Georgia puts linebackers and defensive linemen in the NFL draft. Like, they go into the NFL every year. They have NFL quality players, right? So Texas, what do they do in the second half? Mostly they run these slow developing plays, all these like play fakes and, oh, go this way, go that way. And it's like, you need quick hitting plays. You need quick passes, quick slants, quick crossers. And, Texas' best play of the game was a quick slant that went like 60 yards for a touchdown. They were running these slow developing plays, and Ewers doesn't have the athletic ability. Like Tristan said, doesn't have the confidence, certainly doesn't have the arm talent. And he just had no chance. And I think the coaching has to take some of the blame for that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. And not just the running game, the slow developing run plays. Quinn Ewers struggles with making anticipated throws, wide hash mark throws, wide comeback routes, out routes from the other side of the hash mark. The pick that he threw was exactly a mirror pick that he threw in the first Georgia game. And I'm asking myself, Sarkisian, why the fuck are you calling these deep comeback routes and out routes from the other side of the hash mark, knowing damn well Chad Pennington Jr. don't have the arm strength to make those throws? Why are you making these throws? He doesn't have the arm strength to do it. The things that he does excel in is the crossers, the RPO, the quick slants, speed
passes.
Yeah, screen passes. These are things that you need to stick with a quarterback that's so limited. And I'm gonna throw a name out here, man. And I want to see if you guys remember this guy's name. You remember Kelly Bryant?
Yeah, for Clemson.
Yes.
Yep, I remember. Yeah.
You remember what happened in 2018 with Kelly Bryant?
What happened? Did he get hurt? Or is that when Deshaun Watson came in? No, Deshaun Watson came in. Yeah.
Huh?
Is that Deshaun Watson when he came in?
No. He was very healthy. He got benched in the 5th game of the season. You know for who?
Oh, for Trevor Lawrence.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
he got benched in October. They were 4-0. They were 4-0. Yeah. But Dabo Swinney, he saw this. He was like, you know what? This offense is okay. But how can I take this offense to the next stratosphere? He starts true freshman Trevor Lawrence. They go to the championship. They beat Bama 44-13, and that's it. That the history writes itself. Kelly Bryant transfers to Missouri, never to be heard from again. Yep. This man should have been benched after the OU game. He didn't look right. He was even in that game, like, and I get it. He was hurt. He had a back ankle injury. I get it. But what did he show you before that game for you to say, damn, man, this Texas offense is unbeatable, and we can go to the next level with Quinn Ewers? They won that OU game by, I think, 28 points, but he had 2 turnovers in that game. He was very limited in that game, and yet Texas dominated. So if I'm Sarkisian, I'm saying to myself, we dominated OU, but our quarterback did not look good. He did not look good prior to that, prior to the ankle injury. Let's go and make the change now. If Arch Manning starts in October, he's rocking all cylinders now. He's ready. He's on point now. Now it's like you wait now. Like now, there's talks about Arch Manning starting now, but it's like, God damn, bro, you should have started this motherfucker 2 months ago. And what Dabo did, and look, I'm not a Dabo supporter. Whatever. Dabo's whatever to me, but But he made that call in 2018 in October, and they were better for it. And I think Sarkisian needs to let his nuts hang and make that call, because you're not going to get to the promised land hoping that, oh, well, I just need Quinn to play 4 good quarters of football. Like, you can't keep relying on that. You can't keep relying on chance. You have a 5-star quarterback with pedigree that's sitting right behind him that can make those throws. And guess what? He's fucking mobile. Yeah. He adds an element to your offense that you don't have with Quinn. Even when Quinn was running around trying to get yards, he looked slow. He looked hesitant. He looked scared. Like, when I watch Quinn Ewers, he looks scared. He doesn't look like he's ready for the moment. Arch Manning does. And, like, you need to play this man. And I will play him against Clemson in 2 weeks off top. I'm done with the Quinn Ewers experiment. I don't care about his draft stock anymore. As a head coach, your job is to what quarterback, what player gives me the best chance to win on the field today. Not what player I can make look good for the combine in February. Fuck all that. He's not a first-round quarterback. That ain't your concern. You need to win football games, bro.
Yeah, not only is he not a first-round quarterback, and this may sound ridiculous in a few years. I don't think he's an NFL quarterback at all. I don't think he's a backup quarterback. I just don't see the talent there. I mean,
I've never seen it.
Yeah,
I never saw it either.
Yeah, and like his awareness, like there's so many times that in that game where he's like I said, these slow developing plays where he's turning his back to the defense. Like, I was dumbfounded because Texas defense deserved to win that game. Texas running backs deserved to win that game. Texas kicker did not deserve to win that game. But, the rest of the team played pretty well. And to me, the coaching.
Georgia is 16 points in regulation. They had 16 points. Yeah. If you tell me, hey, man, we're going to hold down Georgia in Atlanta to 16 points, you should win that game. Yeah. You have to win that game. You have to. Even the week before, they won 17-7, and as dominant as Texas looked, Ewers made them look very ordinary. Just careless turnovers, not letting the ball loose, not hitting guys. Like, receivers are running open every fucking week, and he keeps missing them. Yeah. He keeps missing them. It's becoming customary to miss guys deep, and you can't keep throwing them out there because you're doing the team a disservice.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Let's talk about the playoff now. We can mix in some of the other title game stuff in our playoff talk, but the first ever 12-team college football playoff bracket is finally set. Let's go through it. The teams that have first round buys. You have number 1 Oregon, number 2 Georgia, the SEC champ. The other team with the bye is Boise State. Then you have Arizona State, the Big 12 champion in their first year in the conference. They got a bye. Let's go through the first round games. You got Indiana versus Notre Dame, SMU versus Penn State, Clemson versus Texas, and Tennessee versus Ohio State. And Tristan, first off, with the 12 teams, do you think the committee got it right or got it as right as you can get it? I mean, obviously Alabama was the big team that was left out. SMU got in despite their loss to Clemson in the ACC title game. What do you think of the 12-team field? Are we close to having the best 12 teams or?
Sure, if you say so. I
mean, is it possible though? Is it really possible? Yeah.
I do not think it is possible to find the quote unquote right system.
Right.
The more you add, like you can make an argument against every team essentially.
Right.
The consolidation of the conferences has kind of like warped how we view like different schedules, different conferences, different resumes. It's like whatever, man. So yeah, they got it. It's like this is a TV show, man, with some football thrown in.
That's true.
T, I love you, man. I love you, dog.
I'm going to stand on that like forever. There is no good way to crown a national champion. This has never been a good way. Polls, fucking AP polls, coaches polls, BCS, 14 playoff, 12-team playoff, 16-team playoff. Like the only way that you can the only way we get there is through war of attrition. Like somebody gets hurt, boom, boom, like you win. There we go. So I'm not the one to ask on that. Like It is what it is, and we'll see who wins. I just mentally I excuse myself from those things because it's like logically, conceptually, I just don't fuck with it in any shape, form, or fashion. Back to you guys.
Oh, okay. So before we talk about the matchups, Frank, what do you think about the 12 teams that made it? I mean, obviously, you could argue for Alabama, you could argue for Ole Miss, you could argue for who have South Carolina, all these SEC teams that may have an argument, but they also have 3 or 4 losses. So what do you think of the field?
Respectfully, fuck Bama. Let me see. Fuck Ole Miss. Fuck South Carolina. You know all the teams have in common? They have multiple losses. Don't lose. Don't lose. How about that? Don't lose. If you go undefeated, your chances are exponential. Don't fucking lose. Don't lose to OU by 28 on the road. Yeah. Don't lose to Vanderbilt, who's unranked. Don't lose, motherfucker. How about that? Now, as far as like the measurement and the formula, there's no when you leave things to a vote. It's an imperfect system. There's no system that's going to be put in place to like decipher the 12 best teams, because if you have a 12-team playoff, the 13th and 14th teams are going to bitch. You have a 20-team playoff, the 21st and 22nd teams are going to bitch. Even the NCAA basketball tournament, teams 65, 66. Oh, we should get it. We don't give a fuck. You're 500, sir, but we don't care. Like I don't want to hear about the 13th, 14th team. I don't want to hear about the other average teams out there that have multiple losses. Don't fucking lose. That's simple. Like watching Nick Saban bitch and complain about strength of schedule when Bama has benefited of not going past the Mason-Dixon line for the better part of 20 seasons. I don't want to hear about SOS. They played Townsend every fucking year for like 6 years. Don't tell me about SOS, bro. I don't want to hear about that shit. Don't fucking lose, bro. That's it. You want to get in that motherfucker? Don't lose. Do not go. Don't have 3 losses. You have 3 losses. I want to hear you talking. You have 3 losses, sir. Like no, it's just that simple. And I think when these teams want to cry larceny about strength of schedule and like, oh, we should be in. Like no, motherfucker, you lost. You lost. I don't want to hear none of this shit. You lost.
And lost to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Like
bad. It was not a competitive game.
Lost by 28. They lost by 28 to Oklahoma. And then they got ran over by Vanderbilt. They gave up 300 yards rushing to Vanderbilt, bro. Vanderbilt. I just found out 2 years ago Vanderbilt's in Tennessee. I didn't know where I didn't know where they're at. It's like I don't want to hear about y'all getting screwed over. Yeah. That's your fault. Don't fucking lose to these teams. Y'all won't be in this position.
Yeah, no, it's well said. Speaking of Tennessee, let's talk about some of these matchups. Tristan, what's your favorite of the first round matchups? I'll run through them again. So you got Indiana versus Notre Dame. That'll be on Friday, December 20th. That's a night game on ABC. You've got on Saturday, December 21st, SMU versus Penn State. You've got Clemson versus Texas. By the way, these are all like, Indiana at Notre Dame, SMU at Penn State, Clemson at Texas, and then the nightcap on Saturday, December 21st, is Tennessee at Ohio State. Which one of those, all of them kind of have some things to watch, but what's your favorite?
All of them have something to watch. If Arch is starting, then it's Texas Clemson for me. Okay. I would be intrigued by Penn State versus who's Penn State again? SMU, but like I'm trained to never believe in Penn State ever again. There's like Penn State, Tennessee, Florida, or Auburn, just kind of traditionally are anti-big game teams, especially this year. Tennessee, it's been so many times I thought Tennessee was ready to take that next step, and they don't have it, in big games like that. And I think that's on coaching by and large. Like I think James Franklin just makes teams tight. I think he's afraid to like make those winning decisions like, hey, we're going to actually go for it on this 4th down instead of punting it, knowing that it's going to decrease our odds of winning this game. So I'm gonna go with Texas and Clemson, provided. I think first of all, I think that's the best two coaches as far as those matchups. And again, I expect Arch Manning to play a lot. I don't know if he's going to start, but I expect him to play a lot. And if not, then Texas essentially is like forfeiting his chance to really make it out of this round, and two, make it all the way to the national champion, to the final game. So I'm gonna go with Texas and Clemson right now by default.
Okay, Frank, which matchup has you most intrigued, or which one are you looking forward to watching most?
Man, I've tied myself to this Nico Almavea train for a while now. I know Tennessee they've lost a lot of big games this year. Nico has looked very freshman-like. He's young, but I mean, he's had games against Alabama where he looked good. He had the second half of the OU game. He looked good. I'm intrigued by Tennessee and Ohio State because I think Ohio State, they got some questions to answer because they lost to Michigan. They got a bad taste in their mouth.
Yeah.
The coach might be on the hot seat. This game could end his career in Ohio State. The quarterback they had last year, he went to Syracuse, and he put up monster numbers in Syracuse this past year. And the quarterback you had this year was very pedestrian. You spent $20 million on that roster this year, and people in Ohio are upset. For the two losses they had this year. So a lot is riding on that Tennessee-Ohio State game. Tennessee could end that coach's reign in Ohio State if they're not careful. But then again, the storylines too, if Josh Heupel finds a way to win this game, I think it puts Josh Heupel in a different stratosphere of like how we view him as a coach, a big game coach. Because he beat Bama twice now. He beat Bama last year as well, and he beat him this year. And if you beat Ohio State, that's three huge wins against historic programs. So a lot at stake for Josh Heupel, and a lot at stake for Coach Ryan in Ohio State. So that game really intrigues me. I need to make this claim right now because I promise you, if Clint Ewers is coming out of the tunnels and he's introduced as a starting quarterback that day in Austin, I am not watching that game. I refuse to take myself to any more torture. My heart's already taking blood pressure medication for watching the Chiefs every fucking Sunday. I can't take any more stress this year. I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm not watching that game unless Arch Manning is the starting quarterback. And I have every confidence, iota of hope in my mind that Sarkisian is going to sit down this week. He's going to study that film, and he's going to pull a Kelly Bryant and pull that motherfucker and put Arch Manning in there. I have so much faith in him. It's ridiculous. I think not just Sarkisian, and I think right now I think the boosters might be might be an added fixture in this decision. I guarantee you, I think the boosters is going to step in and be like, man, look, you better start Arch, and I think he would adhere to that.
I mean, it's not hyperbole to say that it's like a national title decision, right? Because Texas has consider they lost the SEC title game, they have a pretty nice path to the semifinals. Because if they beat Clemson at home, they go to face Arizona State, who, one of the weaker teams in the field. You would think Texas could beat Arizona State. Even a Quinn Ewers Texas should beat Arizona State. Then you're in the quarterfinals, or the semifinals. You're facing, the winner of either, the winner of Tennessee, Ohio State faces Oregon. Then you're going to face the winner of that game. I mean, if it's Oregon, that might be tough. But I mean, they have a chance with Manning to win it all, and they really need to seize upon that opportunity.
But that's my point right there. Like, if this is not the time to start Arch Manning, you can start Arch Manning at home in Austin against Clemson. Like you'll be the 11-point favorite right now. You're at home. This is there's no better time to start a young quarterback than at home with all of Austin behind his back, with Matthew McConaughey in his corner. Like, this is the time to start him. And if you win that game, you got Arizona State who you outweigh O-line wise to their D-line by 60 pounds. Like, this 2-game stretch could be a good 2-game stretch to get Arch Manning comfortable for if or when you play Oregon.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith in Sarkisian though. I really don't. I feel like we're going to see Quinn Ewers coming out of that tunnel against Clemson on December 21st. So we'll see. Tristan, any final thoughts about the CFP? Anything you're looking forward to? Any matchup that you hope to see in the playoff?
I don't know about matchups. I hate to be that guy, man. I don't really care. Like I'm watching whatever game is on. Like that's if they want me there to watch the games, that's what I'm there for. My larger issue with the CFP, and just like the methods that television networks, the NCAA schools, whoever have gone to create this new system or all these new systems, is that the thing is missing is stakes. You know what I'm saying? And that's why there's so many bowl games. Very few of them really get the television audience that these networks are hoping for because there's no stakes.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? For me, the college football season ends with conference champions. Like once the conference championships are over, college football season is done. From there, it's just like, again, it's a television program to which you have a chance to watch big names, guys that you expect to see in the NFL, whatever, play against other big names. That's really it for me. The thing that makes like playoffs and like crowning a champion important is the stakes. You know, like what do I have invested in this? And it is really not even just the CFP. Even the conference championships are watered down because the conferences don't make sense. You know, there's not there's no longer tradition and history and the regional, rivalries and stuff like that go into it. So I know I'm Debbie Downer about college football playoffs. I always will be, because for me, sports are at their highest level when there are important stakes. Like there's stuff we can get behind. Like, hey, Texas versus A&M. I was excited to watch that game. I've been waiting years, essentially to watch that game, over a decade, because there's stakes there. I'm talking trash to some, the seniors who plan to go in A&M, next year, who are big A&M fans, and there's stakes there. And once we take those things away, I think everything else just becomes diluted. And it's hard to make somebody like me who's not, I'm a diehard NFL fan. I'm not a diehard college football fan. I watch college football because I'm from Texas. Like this is just, it's like going to church for a lot of, most people. But for me, the thing that draws me in are like the schools and the rivalries and stuff like that. Once we take that away, man, it's just guys who may or may not play in the NFL. Yeah. And that's really it for me. So I'm watching whoever. I definitely want to see Boise State, to see Genty. I definitely want to see Oregon. I like watching Oregon play. The Notre Dame and Indiana game might be very good. That might be our best game. Yeah. Notre Dame has an excellent defense. Indiana has a really, really efficient offense. That probably will be the best game, especially if number 3 for Texas is trotted out there. So that's probably the thing. The game I'm looking forward to the second most after Texas and Clemson.
Yeah, that Indiana Notre Dame game, that's going to be probably a very cold game. It's going to be a Friday night, South Bend, Indiana. You might have, who knows, we might have snow or something. Like, you don't see that in college football that often. I don't see like where weather comes into play. Now, because they're always playing like in bowl games, in warm other places or in domes. So it'll be interesting to see like the elements become a factor with the playoffs. Frank, is there anything else about the CFP you want to talk about or mention? Any matchup you're looking forward to potentially?
Notre Dame, man. They're an independent team. They're one of the few teams that they've never changed their mantra as far as like them joining the conference and being subjected to join the conference. If things shake right, man, them being independent may do them a favor. They could easily beat Georgia if they get past Indiana. You're talking about strength on strength. Notre Dame's front seven is physical. They can rush the passer. They can run the football. They can stop the run. Notre Dame and Georgia to me are like doppelgangers. They strength on strength and quarterbacks that we have questions about. And it's like which quarterback makes the least mistake moving forward if Notre Dame gets past Indiana. And again, man, this is that 9-8. The Ohio State Tennessee game is a legacy game. It's a legacy making game or a legacy ending game for one of the other coaches, and I can't wait. So
yeah, no, well said. Looking forward to it. And of course, we'll be talking about it in the next few weeks. But yeah, more college football, and we'll see if the 12-team playoff is always, the thing that everyone supposedly has wanted for years is more college football, more teams, and we'll see how it all shakes out. Anything else before we get out of here? Any final words, Tristan or Frank? Y'all want to mention anything else we didn't mention?
Andy Reid should be in the coach of the year mix.
Play Josh Uche more. That's it.
There we go. Okay, that about does it for this week. Want to first thank King B. Johnson and M Moves in the chat for joining us. That's the best way to join the show. We do these live streams here on YouTube, and they as always, they were in the chat, so we appreciate that. And we're on YouTube, so like do all the YouTube stuff. Help us out. Subscribe, like, comment, all that stuff helps us. We appreciate it. And hey, if video's not your thing, that's okay. We're on audio platforms as well. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. If you find us in those locations, be sure to subscribe. Give us a 5-star review. We appreciate that. Also, you can find us on social media. We're at Watchers Basement. So check us out there and be sure to use the hashtag Watchers Basement. So that about does it for tonight. For Tristan and for Frank, I am Justin saying thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will see you next time. Have a good night. Bye-bye.